Okay, so Hornet Security, your 2025 ransomware impact report. I think the one of the sort of high-level findings it reveals an increased number of ransomware attack victims compared to 2024. Just to your thoughts as to why that is the case. Is that depressing? And why is that the case?
Yeah, that's right. The victim numbers did rise from 18.6% in 24 to 24% this year. That actually breaks a 3-year downward trend. So what we're seeing is attackers scaling up through the automation and the AR tools that are available, and they're launching more attacks faster. But the bar to entry to cybercrime world has dropped, so even low-skilled threat actors can now do serious damage.
Okay, and I think the report reveals that phishing's the leading attack vector, with things like compromised endpoints and stolen credentials increasingly common. Again, is that we talking AI again, or what's going on with the phishing side of things?
Yeah, that's right. Phishing is still the main entry point at 46%, although sort of slightly down from last year. But what's rising are compromised endpoints and stolen credentials. And that all ties back to patching gaps, hybrid working, and personal devices slipping into the mix. And, the attackers are continuing to adapt their techniques, and they'll always find the weakest link to gain entry at any time.
Okay, but alongside the fact that ransomware attacks, I think, have increased, investment in ransomware insurance, I think, has fallen with, I think, under half of organizations having the cover. So are people sort of falsely confident then that they've got this covered? What's going on with the insurance falling?
Sure. Yeah, what we're seeing is about 46% of organizations now have, the ransomware insurance in place, compared to slightly higher last year at 54%. But it's the premiums that are rising, and getting underwriting it is getting harder and harder. And there's also doubt in the market that claims will actually be paid out. For years, insurers have underestimated the true cost of ransomware, and now the pendulum swung the other way.
Okay, but I think also it can be difficult to procure insurance. Is that still the case, or is it getting easier or more difficult for folks to get that?
It's getting harder, Phil. Insurers are now expecting stronger security controls as standard. Things like, proper MFA, immutable backups, and proven recovery testing. But for many SMBs, those requirements can be quite costly. So that's making the barrier to entry a lot higher.
Okay, so end users potentially need to be doing more if they're going to, I guess, convince the insurers at least. And so things like email security and security awareness solutions are potentially some of the effective tools. I know there's obviously a lot of tools, but those in particular are useful when it comes to cybersecurity defense.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we see that 74% of organizations now are actually running training of some description, but only, just under half of those admit that it's actually good enough. And with phishing still leading the charts, it really highlights the need for modern email security along better, more consistent awareness training. It can't be just a once a year exercise. It needs to reflect the real world attacks and the skill level of each individual user.
Yeah, and also I know again my background's in the storage industry from way back when, and I know people were talking about storage backup for quite a long time ago. But
Mhm.
immutable backup storage seems to be the sort of gold standard. Are people focusing on that enough, or is that something of a gap still?
Definitely, we see that just over 60% of people now use immutable backups. And that's a big reason for why ransomware payments have dropped to, around about 13% now. So, as you know, with immutability, you have a clean recovery point that just can't be tampered with. So it's no longer optional, it's actually essential.
And back to our good friend AI, which clearly is the flavor of the month for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, you've obviously referenced it already, but AI is, I guess, both a force for good and bad. Do you have any sort of thoughts as to who's winning at the moment, the good folks or the bad folks, when it comes to using AI?
Yeah, I mean, AI is reshaping the whole landscape. You know, 77% of CISOs see AI generated phishing as the real major threat. And many believe that AI is increasing the overall ransomware risk, which is obviously what we all agree with. So, the attackers are using AI for, highly tailored laws, deep fakes, and even automating parts of the intrusion path. And at the same time, us defenders are leaning on AI for behavioral detection and faster response. The balance is shifting, and we're all having to adapt to in real time.
And you mentioned also, I think, earlier on about training, and there seems to be
Yeah.
still, it might be a bit depressing again, because obviously cybersecurity, everyone's been known about it for quite some time, but I think the report highlights that there's still need for more and better, improved cybersecurity training. Your thoughts as to why that might be, I suppose, or what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Most organizations train their people, but much of that training is still pretty superficial. It doesn't really reflect what modern attacks look like. What we need is more frequent, realistic, role-based training if we want users to recognize and respond to the real-world threats.
Yeah, and I guess following on from that, there is a problem of false compliance where organizations carry out, I guess, something of what we might call just a superficial tick box exercise. They don't really sort of embed cybersecurity awareness as a culture into the organization. Do you see that as still a problem?
It's still a problem, exactly. False compliance when organizations just use that tick box, but they don't actually want to build or they don't have the ability to build a real genuine security culture. Users sit through a session, they pass the quiz, but then they just fall back into the same risky habits. So again, without the ongoing engagement, nothing's really going to change.
Yeah, and I suppose to emphasize that point, um, the number one sort of factor problem with cybersecurity, or the number one cause of breaches, still is human error, which I guess sort of reinforces that point that at the moment, for whatever reason, the training, the messaging isn't getting through to humans. They're still opening emails and all the rest of it without really understanding what's going on. Yeah, how again, I use the word depressing. Is that quite frustrating to see this still going on?
Yes, it is, Phil. I mean, even proof points data shows that just over 60% of CISOs see human behavior as the biggest factor in incidents. So even with the better tools in place, people are still making those crucial decisions, and that's where the attackers often gain the upper hand.
Okay, maybe just to sort of um find out what your cells are doing. Clearly, you've got a lot of folks in the channel who are then helping their end users. So, what is it that you're doing at the moment, and anything further off, I suppose, further ahead in terms of the cybersecurity landscape, helping address some of those
Yeah.
challenges that we've been covering?
So here at Hornet Security, we deliver that layered resilience focused approach that the report points to. So with the advanced email security to stop phishing, malware, and AI crafted attacks, AI driven threat detection for unusual behavior and fast automated response. You know, our awareness training that actually changes behavior, not just meets the compliance that we've spoken about. And those immutable backups that give organizations clean, ransomware proof recovery points, leading on to our 365 total protection, our unified Microsoft 365 security, governance, and backup platform that simplifies life not only for our partners but for our end users. Because Phil, at the end of the day, technology just keeps evolving, and so will the attackers. So what really matters is the resilience. The organizations that are the organizations that get ahead are the ones that really invest in the people, in the training, and in that layered protection that actually works in the real world. And that's where Hornet Security focuses, and that's why our partners and customers trust us.
Look, maybe just finally, are you sort of optimistic that yourselves and others can sort of change the landscape for the better, or do you just sort of shrug your shoulders and go, okay, human beings are always going to do silly things, and we just have to sort of help minimize the impact of that and or pick up the pieces?
Well, I mean, as I've mentioned, I mean, with Hornet and our partners, we want to help our customers deliver that real resilience, preventing those attacks and detecting those sophisticated ones that do slip through, but ultimately ensuring that the rapid recovery of systems when incidents do occur.
Excellent. Oh, it's been great to chat to you, and thanks so much for talking us through the report and the cybersecurity landscape, which I say is constantly evolving and always challenging. But Irvin, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. It's been a really good discussion. Enjoyed it.